Virginia's embattled Governor Ralph Northam, a Democrat, is resisting calls to resign. Protesters marched outside the state capitol today, all in response to this racist photo from his 1984 medical school yearbook page, which surfaced late Friday. I'm joined now by Georgetown professor and author of What Truth Sounds Like, Michael Eric Dyson. Thanks for being here, sir.
Brother Ari, always great to be here, my man.
You look at what's coming out of this controversy. What do you think is important for people to take away, particularly if there isn't necessarily a way to eject the governor from office?
Well, who knew that besides blackface being donned by the governor as a medical student, he owed a debt to African-American culture, especially the Caribbean side. He obviously is sampling Shaggy. It wasn't me. So here's a man who has denied the fact that he has participated in a horrendous expression of anti-blackness. I appreciate that. But if you can't acknowledge it, if you can't say this was wrong and that is me, and I participated in something that I now find reprehensible, then we can't have any progress. Now, would the consequence of his admission be that you got to go? Maybe. But the thing is that you got to pay the tithes for the church of conscience. You got to acknowledge that what you did was wrong. And look, the precipitous decline of civilization or moral culture happens in fits and seizures and starts, and it happens in bite-sized treachery, and this guy has to acknowledge it and then get out the way.
Very interesting the way you put it, especially with perspective on the different types of offenses that are out there for politicians. And I'm torn. You make a Shaggy reference, but we're in a very serious discussion. Not that you can't have both.
Right.
And it makes me think not only of Shaggy saying it wasn't me, but also Shaggy on tour with Sting. Who saw that coming, Professor?
I mean, your broad reference to civilization and culture is astonishing. That's why you're going to be one of the great treasurers of our culture in the future.
Well, we're all just listeners and fans, as you are. In fact, with regard to you being a fan, I have something I'm going to get to before I let you go.
Right.
But there's another big social justice issue, which you've been talking about for a long time. You look at the controversy now, the day after the Super Bowl, artists and celebrities saying you got to boycott the event because of the NFL's treatment, of course, of Colin Kaepernick and his protests. Some of the stars who did perform taking heat, as you know. I want to show Cardi B talking about why she turned down the halftime show to stand with Kaepernick.
He's standing up for minorities, and it's like, if we don't support who's standing up for us, then it's like, who's going to support us? And they need to understand why he stand up for us. It's crazy.
That's one view. I want to show the others, though. Take rapper and social justice activist Meek Mill celebrating with Patriots owner Robert Kraft. That's Robert Kraft's bling you see on the screen, courtesy of Meek Mill's Instagram. And, of course, Kraft has been an ally to Meek, including on reforming criminal justice. As you know, Professor Mill, just getting out of prison earlier this year. What do you make of this issue, which I don't think lends itself to one simple binary critique?
How did we get to the point where it's a single stream of consciousness? We have an inside game and outside game. Thurgood Marshall was in the courts adjudicating competing claims of justice in defense of black people in the United States. Martin Luther King Jr. was in the streets. Malcolm X was on the platform in Harlem. Ella Baker, Joanne Robinson, Angela Davis. There are multiple streams of consciousness, and we must get beyond either or. Colin Kaepernick is an extraordinary symbol of justice. So is Eric Reed, who plays the game. So is Malcolm Jenkins, who plays the game. Those men are on the field. Should we hold them to account for playing a game? No. So I think, look, and when Jay-Z, Rihanna, and Cardi B refuse to play, that's of a vast magnitude. That makes a difference. Travis Scott, not so much. Big Boy, not so much. Gladys Knight has been a social justice warrior for many of her 74 years on this earth. Even though we might disagree with the justification she offered for her performance, her extraordinary performance grows out of a tradition that must be respected. And if you think she made a mistake, don't cancel her out. Cancel culture has to be canceled. The obsession with black propriety and what's legitimate has to be done.
When you say, quote, cancel culture, what are you referring to?
I'm talking about on Instagram, on Twitter, on social media, many black people who say, I disagree with you, I cancel you out. You are canceled. Now, there's some legitimate reasons to be, up in arms. R. Kelly canceled, but then they cancel R. Kelly, but then they also cancel Gladys Knight. I'm confused. Are they on the same continuum here? You can't cancel out another human being. Cancel your subscription to historical amnesia. Cancel your credit card drawn on the bank of corrupt understandings of our culture. We are broad, complex. complex. Yes, there are multiple ways to protest. Colin Kaepernick, I love him and support him. But I also support those who go within and say, let's take the $100 million that the NFL offered, leverage it in defense of poor people and people who are, dealing with cash bail.
Well,
that has to be dealt with. Meek Mill is a hero as well.
As always, I'm learning from you as you do it, and I feel like it could be a Def Poetry Jam halftime show because you do it so eloquently, if I may say. But you're speaking to the point that if canceling, as you call it, is an informational death penalty, right, then it should only, in your view, I see arguing, be used for the extreme. So the R. Kelly, a case that is literally allegedly felonious, right, would be different than a difference over strategy. And that's what I also want to ask you, because it seems explicitly important in black civil rights and black American culture, where the experience has so often been disappeared, or having white artists and white business take what is the value and try to extract it, that it seems perilous, I wonder what you think, to ask artists to say, well, you should actually disappear yourself from what might be the biggest career opportunity for them, that then could also be a social opportunity because they can use their music to then continue to put their arguments out there.
Absolutely right. Look, that's a black city, Atlanta, Georgia, run by a black woman named Keisha Lance Bottoms, in a culture that was, in a very positive way put forth by Martin Luther King Jr., in my view, the greatest American who ever lived. So that there are multiple layers of blackness at, competition, to be sure. And yes, I agree with people who are suspicious of the fact that is that blackness being consigned to the periphery or being only used in defense of a spectacle of violence, the NFL that refuses to acknowledge its own problems. But if the NFL is trying to come to grips with them, and Colin Kaepernick is there to make sure of that, and Cardi B and Jay-Z and Rihanna and others of us who are social activists, there are multiple ways to grapple with that. To reduce it, the complexity of our blackness to that one script is ridiculous. And as you said, there are multiple ways in which using that platform now, then something can be done. Those two young ladies who sang, Chloe and Halle, are their names? I stand to be corrected. From Beyonce's camp, I think was a beautiful representation. I think Gladys Knight was too. I think Big Boy and Travis Scott were too. Well, and there are multiple ways to make the point.
I don't have all the answers. It's interesting getting your nuance on it. It's where politics and culture meet. Everyone's watching the Super Bowl. So we wanted to get your views on that as well. Now, as promised, people can find this online. Professor, in an interview on Friday, was speaking to the great lyricist Royce da 5'9". One of his songs mentions you. And so if you go to Instagram, The Beat with Ari, we have a whole video of what Royce said about putting some respect on Professor Dyson's name. You'll have to check it out, too. I don't think you've seen it yet.
I have not seen it yet, man, but Royce da 5'9" represents Detroit with lethal intensity and ferocity and poetry, so I love that, brother. Keep representing.
There you go. Well, as promised, folks, you can check it out on the Instagram. Michael, Eric Dyson, as always, thank you. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.